Zach Dooley and Scott Burnside back for the Game 2 Royal Reaction. Now, Scott, in the regular season, the LA Kings achieved something they haven't done in 4 years, and that was earn home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs. Now they've done something that neither the Kings or the Oilers have done over the last 4 years. That is earn a 2-0 series advantage in those home games. What was your biggest takeaway from Game 2 as the Kings won 6-2?
Yeah, well, Zach, there's a lot to unpack from the 6-2 win in Game 2, especially after how Game 1 ended. Furious comeback by the Oilers, obviously, and then Phil Deneau saving the day with the flutter puck. And I think it might have been fair for fans and maybe even on the bench along the way as the Oilers drew to within one goal early in the third period. And yet, to me, the response of the LA Kings in that third period, especially contrasted to Game 1, was really what the narrative was, and that was that this Kings team did learn a lesson after Game 1, that they did learn, whether they took their foot off the gas or however you want to phrase it, this is a team that doubled down and really sucked the life out of the Edmonton Oilers. Power play goal, timely goals to ultimately lead 6-2 in the end. I thought that was the storyline coming out of Game 2, the evolution of that team in even that short period, 48 hours between Game 1 and Game 2.
There were a lot of similarities between games 1 and 2 until there weren't. And,
Exactly.
The first period, the Kings get a power play goal to kind of get through a feeling out process. And then they score twice in the second. They really take over the game in the second. But then a late goal from the Oilers, an early goal in the third. It kind of went until it did. But then I thought Adrien Kempe took the game over, right? He scores the fourth goal, taking advantage of a turnover. He scores the sixth goal, a beautiful shot from the left side. In the playoffs, we talked about Phil Deneau in Game 1. Adrien Kempe, for me, was the hero in Game 2. Why does he continue to just elevate his game at this time of the year?
Yeah, it is. We talk about it and becomes, in some ways, the ultimate playoff cliche. Which players can elevate? Which players take their game to a different level? And it's not just collecting the points. It's the timeliness of it. It's the attitude that you bring, and that entire line. Adrien Kempe, what a night for him, 4 points as well. And, of course, the amazing newcomer, Andrei Kuzmenko. We barely say enough about him. But I think you're right. Adrien Kempe is sort of the engine that drives that line. He really does drive the first power play unit as well, which remains that 5-forward combo. I just think it's one of those DNA things. He's such a quiet person. He's very thoughtful, well-spoken. You talk to people in the Swedish hockey community. His profile is going to continue to grow and grow. I thought it did a little bit at Four Nations. What we've seen through the first two games, though, of this series is a player who has proven himself and continues to prove himself as an elite playoff performer. I'm not sure you could ask anything else from him thus far. Of course, the challenge now gets a little more difficult as we head north.
It certainly does, but the Kings are going with Adrien Kempe leading the NHL in scoring in the playoffs. Andrei Kempe second, Andrei Kuzmenko second. So there's the line, right? 1, 2, and 2. Not a bad place to be.
Yep.
But the series changes now, right? And we talk about never too high, never too low quite a bit. Usually, though, it's about when things are not going well, right? But now for the Kings, it is. How important is it that as the series shifts to Alberta, that the Kings don't ride that high too high, knowing that, it is going to be a different task for this team at Rogers Place in Game 3.
Yeah, no, it's a terrific point, and we often talk about this notion that it's not really a playoff series until a visiting team or a road team wins a game. Of course, we're going to see what happens in Edmonton, whether this Kings team can maintain that composure and that even-keeled play. They've been so dominant 5-on-5. They've dominated the special teams game. Darcy Kemper, I thought, was excellent when called on in Game 2. I think it might go back to that lesson learned in Game 1. You really dodged a bullet, by squandering a 4-0, 4-1, 5-2 lead. And I think that team, led by those veteran players we talked about, Adrien Kempe, Andrei Kempe, I thought Drew Doughty, outstanding playing with Mikey Anderson, almost exclusively against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in Game 2. Those players, the other teammates take their cues from them. And I think the calmness, even when things got close in game 2, there was no rattle. I think that's going to be key going into a game 3, especially. Desperate Edmonton team. They know they must win game 3. History tells you if they don't, then the series is pretty much over. I think that's the veteran leadership that has been the hallmark of this team all season, and I think that will be a critical part of game 3, especially in the first 10 or 15 minutes of that game.
Veteran leadership is what the Kings have relied on in dicey moments in game 1. The veterans led the way in game 2, and as Andrien Kempe said after the game, we're going up there to steal a game. Game 3 coming at you tomorrow.